Hi there.
Hi, welcome to Curious Collection. I'm Will.
I'm Cinnamon.
Today we're going to talk about how we value the items that we sell online. Now, keep in mind, we are not experts in anything that we sell, but we try to do our best to educate ourselves, and we try to do as much research as possible to properly price an item in line with the market conditions at the time in order to get the best value for us and for our customers.
Right. So, we've talked about the fact that we try to source and we try to get huge lots of items. So then that means that you are going through and you're trying to find prices on a bunch of things that maybe you don't know what they are. So Google Lens is my best friend. So I will do all of my photography. I'll do all of my, and then I will utilize Google Lens when I'm doing my research. That's my first line of defense. So I'm going to look and see if there's the exact item. Like if it's a Crown Trifari piece, then oftentimes I'll be able to find that particular piece, and then I'll be able to compare those prices across the internet. Ruby Lane, their prices are going to be a little bit higher than eBay. Same thing with Poshmark. Poshmark, they usually ask higher prices than I'm able to get onto eBay.
Yeah, those sites, they command a premium because they typically sell better quality, more premium items.
Right. So, that's my first is there an exact match on Google? If there's not, then I look at other things. So, I want to look and see, like these are an example of prong set. So as you can see, there's like the metal that's bent over the stones. So I grabbed these because they are so prong set. But it would be the same thing like if you've got some rhinestone earrings or, there's the setting. So those prong set, when it's the like mid-century modern pieces, people are looking for the prong set because it's better than when it's just glued in. So prong set is something that you might want to look at, and then you can price it up a little bit if it is prong set. One of the other things is like the weight of it. Is it, when you hold it in your hand, does it feel cheap? Does it feel like super light? What is the metal kind of made out of? That will also kind of help determine how to price it. Sometimes those heavier pieces, they've used better materials. They've used maybe the glass stones, things like that. So you can price it up a little bit from there. Or conversely, price it down a little bit if it seems like maybe the stones are acrylic, or if, the metal feels just a little tinnier, so that's some things that I use as well. We had talked the other day about those rhinestones, and are they open back? Are they foil backed? Those are more things that are going to tell me that it's a higher quality piece, so I can mark it up a little bit more, or conversely, mark it down a little bit more because it's not of a higher quality. The brand. So if it's something that I've sold before, like, Monet, for example, I can sell a Monet brooch typically between that $15 to $20 range. Most people aren't going to be doing more than that. There are those special pieces though, like especially with Trifari. If it's an Alfred Philippe designer piece, then obviously that's going to be completely different. And sometimes you don't know because they don't sign them. So
the Trifari pieces are signed though, right?
All of the Trifari pieces are going to be signed. And Trifari is great because Trifari has different signs for different years. So a lot of times you'll hear the term Crown Trifari, and those Crown Trifari pieces are from 1955 to 1930s to 1965.
Mid-century period.
Right. And that's the same time frame that Alfred Philippe worked with them. So there are If it's going to be an Alfred Philippe piece, those designer pieces like that, then it would be during that crown trifari. And what it would look like is on the actual signature, there's going to be like a little crown above the T in trifari. And if you go online and you search up Crown Trifari trademark or Crown Trifari mark, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, because in the 60s they changed it, and it was just the bold Trifari and it didn't have that crown over the top. And then I believe in the 80s they changed it again. So it's easy to date your Trifari, and if it is an actual Crown Trifari piece, then say that in your title, because people are looking for Crown Trifari. There was one piece that I did that was incredibly high quality, and I did say that it was Alfred Philippe era because it was the Crown Trifari piece. I'm pretty sure that it was an Alfred Philippe piece, but I couldn't. They're not always out there because they are more rare. So I did mark it up as if it were an Alfred Philippe, and I did sell it for the higher price tag.
And let's be real, the serious collectors know what they're looking at and they know what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. So either you need to know more than they do, or you need to give them enough information to help them find what you have.
Right. So, some of those are going to be a little bit easier once you know some of those tips and tricks. So obviously if there's a mark in it, then that will kind of help. But sometimes they hide those marks really, really hard. I had a piece the other day. It was a pearl and amethyst, and it wasn't marked gold anywhere that I could see, but it was real pearls. And with pearls, you can kind of rub them together and they feel kind of sandpapery. So you know if it's a real pearl or not. So that's kind of nice. And then I have the gem tester. So I test all the stones and I could see that it was genuine amethyst. So, well, that's going to tell me that it's a higher quality piece if it has real, so I took my magnet to it and it was not magnetic. So I'm looking and inside the pearl clasp, it was next to impossible to see, but it was right inside the pearl clasp. I've never seen it like that. Typically it's on the little hook. But in there it said 14/20. So that's going to be 14 karat, 1/20th. So that's going to be gold fill. So I was able to kind of give a little bit more to that. Sometimes I use my loop a lot. So find a loop.
If you don't have a loop, you need to get one, probably 2 or 3. If you're outsourcing, I would suggest take one with you.
Yeah.
You like your lighted loop?
I do. I'm very particular about my loop. And again, I just get it on Amazon. And when the batteries die, I get another one. But I do. It's lit, which is great. And I'm able to see, and I'm like, I held it way up there and, so that I'm able to see what, and the light definitely helps because I have old people eyes and I can't see for crap. So always keep your loop. And I'll sit here. Sometimes I'll take my magnet and I'll, just to kind of do a cursory, well, is it precious metals of any form or fashion? That's an easy way to negate that, is if it sticks to your magnet. The places that they put their signatures or things like that are going to be all across the board. Here is a pair of earrings. They are screw back. And then on the back of the earrings here is where it says 1/20th gold fill. So again, like if you weren't looking for it, you're not going to find it. I've got a pair of sterling earrings here, and underneath the clip on is where it says Taxco Mexico 925. So you really, really, really have to look at the pieces very, very carefully. My microscope that we got, again, I got it off Amazon. I think we looked it up again. I think they are going for about $20 right now. It is amazing because it will get right up into the maker's mark and give you a very clear picture so that you can then show that to your customers who are going to be more likely to buy if they can actually see that, oh, well, it really does say 14 karat gold. It's not just some fuzzy picture that, they're trying to tell me it says 14 karat gold. So that's a huge help when not only you can identify it, but you can show your customer, and then they have that faith that it's much more likely to be.
Yeah, so obviously the first thing we want to do always is identify the piece. Before we can even come up with a price, we have to know what we've got in front of us. Talking about these gold fill earrings, these are in good condition. They've still got a lot of luster to them. They're great. If they were damaged or something, though, a lot of people have the perception that gold fill equals gold plate, and it does not. It is 1/20th gold. There is a buyer's market on gold fill. So even if it's damaged, take all those pieces, throw them in a Ziploc, throw them in a drawer or something. When you get a large quantity of that, put them on the scale, put them up as a lot on eBay. People will buy it to melt it down. And yes, it is 1/20th the value of regular 14 karat, but that's still a lot of money at $2,000 an ounce.
Right.
So
yeah, even 1/20th of that is not too shabby.
Right. The other thing that we do is, the same thing with silver. If we have silver that comes in and it's just damaged, or it's a mismatched pair of earrings, or some other way defective, throw it in a bag, throw that on a lot when you get a quantity.
Yeah.
Don't do it for half an ounce or something silly, but if you had 5-10 ounces of silver, people will buy that to melt it down, or they'll buy it because they want to, play with silver. So, I mean, there's so many different reasons that people would buy the stuff, but don't discard those just because it's gold fill and you think that it doesn't have any value. It does.
So, some of the other qualifying factors is going to be the year. So when you have, and sometimes it's kind of, you're going off of your gut, because again, you're trying to identify something that's not named. So you look at the styling, you look at the back of the piece, you look at, like, say it's a brooch. Look at the back of the piece. You're looking for that prong set. You're looking for the quality on the back, in the metal. So those are some of the things. So oftentimes back in like 50s, 60s, they would use rivets. So, that's something that can help. Know how your clasps. So oftentimes I can identify a piece of antique jewelry when it's a brooch because it has that C-clasp. So it doesn't actually have the safety that rolls across because it hadn't been invented yet. So it's just that C-clasp that will kind of help you determine the year. An antique piece doesn't always equate value, though. It's really sad when you have like an antique piece and they're like, $30. And you're like, really? That thing is like older than my grandmother.
Yeah, we picked up a ring this week.
We did, and it's absolutely amazing. Set
in sterling, incredible filigree on it. And, we're looking at it, we're thinking like $100 to $120 range. We see that there are people that are putting it up for $20 because they're not valuing the age of it. They're not valuing the quality. They're looking at it as if it were a,
just a
Chinese import silver ring.
Yeah.
And that's not the reality of the piece. And we're not going to price our items at that, severe discount just because somebody else might be doing that. They can sell theirs. That's fine. They can get their $20 sale, and we're still going to keep ours where it should be. We
are. So you do sometimes have to like stand your ground and know your worth. So the piece that we had is European silver. So it was $830. However, it had this gorgeous dendritic quartz, or agate rather, in it. And then also I had the original box from like paper box from the 1910s, 1920s. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to give this away for $20 to somebody because they can't see the intrinsic value in what it is. So I marked it where I thought it should be. I did the research on that particular type of agate rock. Because again, it's all about identification. The more you know about your piece, the more that you can ask, because that type of agate is the most rare agate in the world. So again, like, I'm doing the research to find out about the piece so that I can present it to the buyers in a way that they're going to see the value that I placed on that piece. And it's not always one thing. Sometimes you do have to look at like 12 different things in order to get that value. And then sometimes you have to go like, okay, well, I've sold similar pieces in the past. What have I been able to get and how fast did they sell? Because sometimes I might really undervalue something and be like, okay, well, maybe I'll add just a little bit more than I did the last time because it kind of flew off the shelf a little too quickly.
Yeah, sometimes it is more art than it is science.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a little rubber plush toy that was from the 1940s a couple of weeks ago, and we had looked and seen that there were multiple of them in the $120 range, which seemed a bit excessive to me.
Yeah, for a little rubber toy.
So we ended up kind of coming down from that. We looked at what the price comps were for solds. We looked at the range of where they were, and we priced it.
And the condition of our item.
Right, ours didn't squeak. It was supposed to squeak. So we priced it towards the bottom of the range, and it sold in 4 or 5 days. So we probably could have come up a little bit, but it sold. It was an item that was a throw-in for us. We had nothing into it. So we were very happy to sell it. I think it sold for around $68 for a rubber plush that, again, had a huge range on what was posted out there. While I'm talking, I just want to bring up that there are websites dedicated to pricing. If you can identify what you have in front of you, WorthPoint is an excellent source. We are not compensated by them.
No, we don't even use them.
We don't have a subscription, but I know that they have the information.
They do, and it's really annoying because, like, I'll be doing the comps and I'll be like, oh, they've got one, and it's the only one on the internet, and I'm like, I don't have a subscription to them, so I'm not going to pay.
Right. So I'm looking at their page now. Their premium pricing is $28.99 a month. Yeah, so for us in our business, I don't know that that's a value.
I'll just do more research.
Right.
But it would definitely be an easy button if you do a lot of, they do jewelry, they do super high end collectibles. So
basically any sold comps that are on any auctions that they have access to they're going to compile, and it goes back 10 years, I believe.
Oh,
so that is a, far more information than what you would ever get off from eBay alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what else? Oh, the rarity, obviously, you can price up if it's a super rare piece. Sometimes it doesn't matter because you just don't have a buyer for that piece. And then also like the genre. So that it was the Crown Trifari, the little mushroom that I sold the other day. I actually priced it up a little bit because I put it under cottagecore. So I used the new lingo. I used a current trend. And because of that, I was actually able to get a few more dollars than a lot of other people who had it listed, because I was like, nah, I know this is going to sell because I know my daughter would buy it. So I was able, because I knew the genre and I put that genre in the title, I was able to command a little bit higher price with that information.
So one of the things that we had talked about was proper identification of a piece. Mm-hmm. So going into properly identifying something, we primarily buy costume jewelry. However, sometimes people are not diligent, or they're unaware that there might be authentic jewelry mixed in, fine jewelry. So what I would suggest is, if you're legitimately looking at selling costume jewelry or even fine jewelry, have the loop, yes. Invest. It's less than $20 to get an acid kit and learn how to do the acid tests so that you can properly identify your fine jewelry. And then also consider getting a small jewelry scale. They're, less than $20. And my personal opinion is that gold and silver should never sell for less than melt value. Now, I understand that may be a controversial topic for some people. Our local pawn shop will pay 50 cents on the dollar for melt gold or silver. And if you bring in a piece of fine jewelry, it doesn't matter how nice it is. They're only going to give you melt.
Yeah.
So,
it's really sad.
You know, my personal opinion is if you're going to post those types of items up on eBay, even if it's an auction, start it at melt. Because the people that are purchasing that, they understand what the value is. They can go to, Kitco or any of these other scrap websites and get the spot price at the time. So that would be my suggestion as a bottom line. If you're dealing with a 14 karat chain, weigh it. I mean, that right there is going to get you at least a starting point.
And you know what? Take a picture of it on the scale. That's what, even in eBay, they really do appreciate that. Because again, you want to be as open and upfront and honest with your buyers as possible. So oftentimes when I have the fine jewelry, I will take pictures of it on the scale, and I will have him help me take pictures so that I'm actually using my gem tester and the piece, and I've got pictures of me testing the gem and with the scale as to where it's at on the gem tester, so that again everyone is got the same information. You want to give your buyers as much information about this piece as possible so that you can get as much money on the piece as possible.
Right. So we always try to get our prices into, like I said, into a range that we're able to offer a value to our buyer, but also able to make money. So,
otherwise we can't keep doing this.
But when it comes to stuff that I'm pricing, I want to price it appropriate to the condition of the item and not undervalue ourselves, because that is a tendency, is that I just want to sell everything I have the day that I list it. And so I'm going to price it at the bottom of the market and it'll sell in a day. But the reality is that I'm shorting myself all of that profit. So, I would suggest that, hopefully we're able to sell through on most of the inventory that we're listing within 3 months. That's a reasonable time for the person who's interested in that subject matter to come to the site and find it. Not everybody's on eBay every day like we are. So, don't be afraid to price things in an appropriate range and then hold to that. You always have the pricing option, if you've priced it a little bit high, to be able to send an offer or accept an offer or, come down over time. But once it's sold, you can't go back up. So that would be my suggestion on pricing, is that just do as much research as possible. Again, we want to be efficient, because for us,
sometimes you can fall down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and we really do try to get a minimum of like 25 items a day, even if there's a lot of research. We have to be efficient. We have to keep moving for our business model.
Yeah, sometimes you do. You just have to count your losses and say, you know what, I just don't know. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to say that this piece is $24.99 because I just have to keep moving.
Right. We always have the option later to come back down, bring it down if that's the requirement, or it sells. Sometimes you see that item and you listed it and you, oh man,
that was today.
That sold quick.
I had a piece today that I'm looking at and I'm like, oh, I did not identify that. That's got Black Hills Gold in it, and I did not say that. So they're going to be very happy with their piece when they get it. And you know what? I'm okay with that, because yesterday me is allowed to have a little bit of grace for not knowing what today me knows.
Right. And we didn't buy it with the intention or the knowledge that it had gold in it to begin with. So again, it slipped by us. Now that buyer's going to get it. Hopefully they're going to recognize that it's got that gold in there, and they're going to love it because they realize that they just got a great deal.
Right. So, all right. Well, again, thank you so much. So Michael R., 3883 was the one who had asked us to, go into a little bit more detail about how we're, pricing our items and things like that. We love answering questions from you guys. So, anything that you guys want us to talk about, like, oh, hey, I heard you say this. Can you go into that a little bit more? Or just how do you do that? We're so happy to answer those questions for you guys.
Yes. Thank you so much for the question, and I hope everyone's having a great Q4.
Mm-hmm.
Like and subscribe.
Thanks.